We're starting again, yeah, we can. 11 pro tips for happy cross-functional teams by Christian and Luisa.
Thank you. Okay, in that case, I guess I'll just start. Thank you for the introduction. Again, we've prepared a couple of pro tips from our last couple of years in the agency life for how to make your cross-functional teams happy. And now that we've all eaten in our own food coma, just sit back and relax and let us do the entertaining stuff. So we've prepared a short agenda for today, and we want to talk about, first of all, come in. First, we're going to introduce ourselves, the company we're working for, let you know how we're working currently, and how we've done it in the past, and why that wasn't the best idea. Then we'll get into the actual topic of the 11 tips from our side. And lastly, we would like to get into an open discussion and just talk with you about how you're doing stuff and how that differentiates from how we are doing things. Yeah, let's wait. Yeah, I just want to wait until everyone's seated. Okay, so short introduction. Who are we? My name is Luisa Faßbender. I'm 26 years old, and I work as a senior project manager at Marketing Factory. Besides that, I am currently finishing up my master's degree in marketing and communications. I have 10 days to go, so yay. I'm managing several different customer projects at my company, and I take care of our corporate communication channels. And besides that, you might know me as the Typo 3 marketing team lead. I've been doing that since 2019. And in the rather small amount of free time I have, I do enjoy going to the gym or to festivals if the weather and Corona allows it. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Christian Spoo. I'm 34 years old and obviously also working for Marketing Factory. Originally, I've started as a senior developer, and nowadays I'm also tasked with system administration and some project management approaches when it comes to designing systems and system architectures. And besides the programming stuff, I'm also interested in the more operating system related topics, such as low-level tasks, inner workings of operating systems. And in the rest of my time, the spare time, I am working in my house, and I also enjoy playing 9-pins. So whenever we have the opportunity to do this at the dev days or the camps, you most likely will find me there, and that's how we spend our time. And we are also on social media, so connect with us and ask us stuff, tell us stuff.
Okay, and just a little bit of background, you might be asking yourselves, why are we standing here? Because like a project manager and a developer don't really go together typically. But again, we've been working at the same company for around 6 years, 7 years-ish, and we've been actually living in the same city before I started moving around for like 6 times in the last years. And when we still lived in the same space, like around Heinsberg, so near the Dutch border actually, we've been driving together. So it just kind of, we didn't even work together on projects before, but we just drove to work together every day, and that just kind of came out as it is right now. And we've been doing talks together for 3 years now, and we enjoy it, so yeah. And we're also trying to break the stigma between the project manager, senior developer relationship and loosen it up a little bit. So, short introduction, where do we work?
Yeah, as we have told earlier, we are working at Marketing Factory Consulting in Düsseldorf, and this is an agency which dates back to 1996. So actually it's older than Typo 3 itself. And we are a full-service digital agency, and besides Typo 3, we are also dealing with, let's say, custom or individual developed projects based on Symfony, and also some e-commerce projects running on Shopware. And these are the 3 main areas which are we are focused on. And yeah, as I said, almost, not yet 30 years old, but at least older than Typo 3 itself. We are around 20 people, developers, project managers, and managing directors. And yeah, as you can read on the picture, there are also, let's say, almost equal amounts of female and male employees at Marketing Factory. Besides our actual work, we are also engaged in the community as Association Gold member. One of our managing directors is also part of the Business Control Committee at the Type 3 Association, and we are also Shopware business partner.
Thank you. I'll take over. So maybe let's start with how did we work in the past and why wasn't that optimal. I brought you a small picture of something that we called our physical Kanban board, which was a big glass, like a big glass front we have in the office, and we just put sticky notes on it. Those sticky notes had timestamps in order to track when each ticket went through which status, and we had little avatars and like customer avatars, and that looked something like this. And every single time when someone tried to pick up a new task, they would go to the board, move their sticky note, and inevitably, those things don't last forever. We just would have a huge mess on the floor, and the stickies would fall down, and yeah. That's why that wasn't ideal, but there were a couple of more reasons, which I'll get into right now. So let's call it, we did Agile Project Management pre-2020, which looked like this. There were some Agile approaches to it, but it certainly wasn't the best possible process. So what did we do? We actually collected employee resources on a weekly basis. So we had a spreadsheet where every single one was linked in and put into different departments. And then we would write down how many hours does this person have next week, deducting like stuff like vacation or whatever. We would deduct the time spent in meetings and on still open tasks, and another 30% for like daily business tasks which didn't have a ticket. The remaining time got booked like to the brim with a plethora of tasks, so we would have project management meetings once a week where we would just stand in front of the board and try to figure out how many tickets we can fit in the next week. And that goes against the idea of being agile, because basically we were planning people's times, but we tried to do it with funny, colorful Post-its. Yeah, and again, that's also another point we'll get to later. The developers provided estimations on tickets. I've heard it in Pim's talk before, I don't think he's here. We also had the separation between like S, M, L, and XL, and like, as you know, most of the time estimations don't really work out. So we kind of tried to scrap that, and now we're just working in optimally equal amounts of work per task, if that makes sense. So to conclude, we were essentially one big team which comprised the entire company. So we had a 20-person team, and we were separated into departments. So we had developers, front-end, back-end, sysadmin, and project management. So that needed to change because obviously it had to. And what did we do?
Yeah, that was the time where we decided we have to make big changes. And the usual idea when doing this is you take the whole staff out of the company and relocate it somewhere else, put the whole group together and let them develop new ideas on a completely different location. The idea is to enable them to think creatively. Because they are fully taken out of their regular work and regular schedule. And this is why we booked the, we went to Fehlen. Fehlen is a small city, not very far away from here actually. I think it's around, what is it, Nettetal? I think somewhere.
I don't know. Geography is not my thing.
Okay, except that the location there was very beautiful and provided many means which enabled us to do this creative work.
So basically the entire hotel is just for businesses. You can't book it as a single person. It's just for big agencies who want to do like sprints and stuff and work concludedly.
Yeah, and we spent 3 days there and completely rethought our current working process and actually our whole company at all. And we did this by means of an external consultant, which helped us a lot because we brought up new ideas which we didn't think of earlier, and we had very, very useful ideas this way. And we are also able to find the flaws in our current process. One key concept that already came to our mind before was the idea of the Beta Codex. I don't want to give a full introduction into Beta Codex at all because that would exceed the time we have. But the main idea is to completely scrap the idea of departments inside companies and bring all responsibilities together, being it HR or accounting or the bookkeeping, hiring and the actual work, being development, project management, etc., all into one big pot and squirrel it around, and then you create new teams that deal with every aspect that a company comprises, and then have a look at the results, because sometimes it's that people don't want to deal with only their classical tasks, but want to look over the plate and think outside their boxes they used to be in. Which means we completely restructured the whole company into 3 independent teams and had some fun along the way.
So please enjoy.
And these are some impressions.
There are the drinks and there's the food.
Drinks, obviously.
That's fun, and only 2 working.
Yeah, we try to balance it pretty evenly.
Yeah, when creating those slides, I had the impression that it would actually look like 80% fun and 20% work, but I promise that wasn't the idea behind.
If you let me take over.
Of course.
Okay, what does it mean in order to speed things up a little bit, because you're sitting here for 11 tips and not for us bragging about our company. So, as Christian said, we divided the entire company into 3 different independent teams. But of course, we have a balance in between, like which kind of people and which kind of skills we have, but we're not focusing on like doing departmental stuff anymore, if that makes sense. That's the whole idea of being cross-functional, so yeah, scrap that. We have similar team structures, but we do have slight variations depending on the customer projects and their requirements, obviously. And one employee can actually be borrowed in between the teams if the expertise that person holds isn't in one of the other teams. So in context, that looks something like this. We have 3 different teams. We have Team Sphinx, Phoenix, and Pegasus. And as you can see, we have 2 teams which are a little bit smaller and then 1 bigger team, because just we're working on more customer projects than the others. And we named them just developers because we don't want to focus on backend and frontend anymore. So yeah, that's that. Let's get into the fun part. We've concluded 11 pro tips from our perspective with our learnings from the last couple of years for how to create and keep happy cross-functional teams. And let's start with tip number 1.
The first pro tip from our side deals with the so-called trunk factor. Just a quick question, who is familiar with this concept? Trunk factor, bus factor, is it something? Works with the bus too.
Works with any kind of vehicle.
Yeah. The idea behind is the question how many employees can be hidden by the bus before you run into any problems inside your company. And for most companies, this number is 1, because there's most likely any employee in each company that has some key knowledge that no one else has. And if he's the bad guy who's hidden by the bus, then your whole company runs into trouble because the knowledge is gone. And that's the key problem here, because the idea is that whenever you have any such knowledge that exists inside your company and is also only held by 1 person, then you obviously have a problem there, single point of failure. And the usual questions that occur in practice are something like, whenever a problem arises, the answer is, yeah, read the fucking manual. Yeah? We have documentation, so have a look inside it. And the answer is, yeah, I did so, but the documentation wasn't helpful at all. It didn't bring me forward, and I wasn't able to solve my problem. Or another conversation might be, yeah, no, sorry, I have no idea about that. Let's ask someone who has knowledge about that. That's the point that where the bus factor comes into play, because then you run into the one guy who only has the knowledge about that certain problem, and you have to ask him, and pray that he is available because he might be sick or have a vacation or something, and then you already run into your problem. Or the problem might occur if he, the one with the knowledge, leaves your company, and then in practice it occurs that someone says, yeah, okay, he was the one who used to do this, but he's gone for now, and we have to cope with that. So bus factor is obviously a problem, and the idea is, when dealing with our teams, with our team structure, everybody should at least have a say in each topic, in each concept. You at least have to have the ability to keep the ball rolling and keep the customer satisfied. You have to be able to participate in the discussion. So you have to have at least enough knowledge to have to deal with all key concepts, and maybe you don't have answers to all questions, but you have to give the customer the idea that you are able to consult him. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then a next question arises. Then let's double the staff.
So that we have two people covering one topic.
Two people covering each aspect of knowledge, but the problem is that's not feasible because obviously this approach doesn't scale very well. But that's not our point, because this is about easy availability of information and not just doubling the
people who hold the information.
The people who hold it. It's about availability and about the energy to actively seek this information, and the idea of the individual to want to read this information and grasp it and work with it. So it's not just deflecting and saying, yeah, that's not my task, go to someone else, but I want to know this and I want to deal with this in order to be able to answer questions if they arise. So that's the key idea. Don't want this silo thinking. I'm the developer, she's the project manager, or the other way around, and that's her task and my task. That's not the idea, but whenever a project management related question arises, I want to be able to answer it. That's the general idea.
And before you click, as you can see, we've put something like, now we can use the laser pointer. We wanted to go from departmental or silo thinking into more skill-based work. And I found something in our Google Drive, which I just wanted to share. It's a little bit pixelated, but like, bear with me. Basically, in order to find out which skills we actually hold within the company, besides like not every developer does the same thing, not every project manager has the same skills, we set up this huge spreadsheet. Again, we love spreadsheets, which we comprised into which kind of skills do we even have, and then we tried to separate those skills into the teams so that we hold the skills at least on some level in every single team. Proton number 2 is actually just simply the topic of open communication. Those who were at Typo 3 Camp Rhein-Ruhr last year heard my talk about the 7 deadly sins of project managers, and basically this is relating to all of that. AKA just honesty is key. Again, we brought a couple of examples how that might look. I think we've all heard the phrase of, oh yeah, I wanted to get that done that week, but or yeah, sure, I'll do that until Friday. Or even something like, yeah, no problem, I'll totally get that done today, and you don't get it done today. So the problem in this scenario is if you keep false promises or try to appease your team colleagues or your customers, you will inevitably run into problems, because it just doesn't help anybody if you say to myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna get it done today, and you don't, like, we just have a problem. Ideally, deadlines should be met, that's why they're called deadlines, but most of the time, deadlines are just soft deadlines, or like, I would like to have that done by then. If you cannot meet them, that's not the end of the world, but you have to communicate early enough that you're not gonna meet it, because, like, communication is key. If you see that the delay is looming for whatever reason, there's like 1,000 different things that can cause delays, like vacation, sickness, whatever, just say it early enough. And talk to each other and don't withdraw out of shame, because that's also something we've seen. If you told me I'm going to get it done by tomorrow and you don't, I lose trust in you, obviously. And if you just tell me right away, I don't know if I can do it, or I'd rather do it until Friday, that's just the better way of going there. So how could this look like in a better scenario? We just brought some examples. So first of all, the thing is, like, you have to communicate early enough. You have to be honest and open, even if you are ashamed at first. We've all been there. And you need to express your needs clearly on both sides. Like on the developer side, on the project manager side, if you tell me that's what I need to have in order to be able to work efficiently, that's easier than me trying to figure out why you haven't done something in time. Also, ask for help if you need it. And the other way around, support your colleagues if they need help. So you could say something like, I know I agreed to pick up that task, but I just cannot do it in time. Could someone else out of the team please take over? Or, I just have a lot on my list today. Is it sufficient to finish this until Friday instead of today? Or, this is just not doable until Friday. I'm sorry, can we talk about how to solve this together? Or lastly, something like, if you send me a new ticket and you say your ticket has priority, could you please help me reevaluate the priority of all of my other tickets in order for me to be able to actually prioritize them correctly?
Of course, important to be able to do this is that you're open for new things. As I said, you have to think outside the box. So in practice, it occurs that people used to say, yeah, that's none of my business. I'm the developer here, and you are the project lead. Deal with it. Write your offers, write your invoices, and leave me alone. Or, yeah, I'm just as the guy over there. He's been doing this for years. I'm not familiar with that. He knows. Go to him. Oh, and I've never done that before. I have to read books first, or book some trainees, or want to, the reason behind being that the person most likely want to get some time in order to be able to learn about the topic and able to answer the question, probably. But most likely when people say that they never did something before and have to read on the topic first, they want to get time and in order to be able to do that. And the problem is, you will also encounter that. You will also, most likely encounter something that you didn't know, but that's not a problem. And especially putting the hand into the sand doesn't help. The problem doesn't disappear magically. You have to find a solution for that. And especially being in some kind of team, you have to find a solution inside the team as such. And that's why you all have to actively find a solution together, even if you personally don't know it yet. So the reasoning be, maybe there's no expert yet available, but do you simply want to wait and wait until the problem magically disappears, or do you want to try it yourself and learn something while doing that? So the idea being, yeah, I've done that before. Can you just do it? And your colleague might answer, yeah, why don't you give it a try first? And maybe you'll learn something. I'm confident that you can do this. You will do that. And then you might be able to answer, okay, I'll give it a try and maybe I'll learn something. But the question is, maybe I can ask you for some kind of support, and that might be another trap that you might run into, because maybe the reasoning behind being is that your colleague is so overcrowded with tasks that he didn't actually want to help you, because he is so crowded with work that he isn't able to answer you in time.
So ideally that would be a yes. But like, we're not living in a fairy tale. So tip number 4, it just runs into the former topic. Like, you have to know your limits, but you should dare to overcome them. We'll all run into any problems at some point. We'll all make a fool out of ourselves, and that's totally fine. That's just part of the job. So something like, I don't know, I don't care, just you do it, or this just doesn't fall within my scope of work. That's something that really grinds my gears. Or, yeah, no, rather not. I'll just make a fool out of myself. Or something like, can't you just present this to the customer? I don't like presentations. Something like not having an answer sometimes is totally fine. We're humans, not machines, and we will make mistakes. But you should always, especially in our position as an agency, try to be as helpful as possible to your colleagues and to the customer in order to actually just push the project or whatever it is forward, not just shrug it off. No one likes to backpedal in meetings, especially if it's a customer meeting and you have to say like, I actually don't know right now. But technical dead ends just do happen in practice. And again, that's okay. Consciously try to see these dead ends as an opportunity to further your education and to look behind the horizon, because everyone at the end profits from a wider range of knowledge. Not everyone has to be an expert in every topic, but you should be able to say something about everything in the project. So instead of saying, I don't know, can you do it? Try something like, I will make sure to figure this out as soon as possible and I'll get back to you on a short notice, instead of, I don't know. Or even just start with an open communication relating to tip number 2, just to let you know this is my first time holding a presentation, I'm really nervous. I'll try my best to do it, but if I don't exceed, just bear with me. So dare to explore new topics and overcome your personal fears. As I said, you will make a fool out of yourself sometimes, and that's okay. But broadening your personal and professional horizon will make you a better consultant in the end. And if you miss, you miss. That's okay, and that's part of life.
Of course, you aren't a single player inside the team for obvious reasons. And this is why empathy is an important key topic. And maybe you are familiar with discussions like, yeah, I've already explained this a couple of times to you, are you even stupid? Or, yeah, I've told you several times, you should already know. I'm familiar with those kinds of discussions before, because that's just human. In cross-functional teams, it's not just about different skills, but also about different kinds of personalities. And this is important when people work together and spend time together, because this sometimes leads into problems. The problem is that even if something is obvious to you, it might not be obvious to someone else. And in practice, this leads to, yeah, anger or frustration, yeah. And the problem is that you have to deal with that. And especially when it comes to technical stuff, it's important that you take your other team member and take him at hand and lead him to a solution, or at least to a way of finding a solution. So improve them, help them, and show empathy for their problems when beginning to start with dealing new topics. Of course, the caveat is that sometimes there has to be some limit on that, because you can't only spend your time consulting someone else in your team, and if that exceeds some amount of time, you might have to have a look at this, but most likely the amount of consulting your team colleagues is fairly low, at least until to a point where they can evolve themselves and go on their own.
Merci. Yeah, again, that's something that I'm really passionate about. Pro tip number 6 is don't be a control freak, because no one likes that and no one likes to be that. Control isn't always better. So something like, oh, have you seen what X, Y, or Z booked today from like 3:45 to 4:03? Debatable. Or even it could look something like, I slacked you an hour ago, why aren't you answering? Or my personal favorite, I expect a detailed status update from you every 2 hours. Like, I see some people smiling, so I think I'm onto something here. Nobody needs micromanagement, because we're all grown-ups, we're not in kindergarten, we're able to manage ourselves, and if we're not, we should work on that, but not sit on someone's shoulder all day and watch what they're doing. And also, micromanagement is actually one of the most pressing reasons why people switch companies, because they just feel a lot of pressure and they don't feel like they're being trusted. You should communicate your needs and wishes clearly and openly to your team in order to be able to set expectations right. So if I need a status update at the end of the day in order to be able to inform my customer on the current status, I need to say that beforehand and not Slack you every 5 minutes and let you know, like, I need a status update. Just set boundaries first or set rules first instead of doing it like at a later time. You have to find your working mode in your team that will differ from customer to customer and from team to team because, again, we're different personalities, we're different characters, and a good team has to be built on trust. That also means if someone new is coming into the team, they have to be given the benefit of the doubt. They don't have to earn the trust first, but they're given trust, and they can like lose trust. But like no one has to earn trust first in order to be able to be part of the team.
Oh, that's a classic one. Yeah, oh, what do you know? You're just the intern here. I am the one with 10 years of experience. You don't know a thing. Or the other way around, you are being part of a team and maybe take a technical decision and you have the CEO sitting over the table and he says, no, we do that a different way because I'm the CEO here, I'm the one who pays your bills and I decide that. Maybe without any technical reasoning behind, and this is a situation which leads into the most problems in practice.
That's also relating to, but we've always done it that way, and that's also like.
Oh, that's a classic one, yeah. Yeah. So most likely you have to deal with people who tell you how to do your job, but don't have anything of any kind of knowledge how to do your job. And this is the main source of this problem. So in practice, titles, position, resumes mostly likely don't have any place in your practical work because even if you have some kind of a degree from any academic institution, this doesn't make you a better developer or a better software architect or a better project manager. It's just a title, it's just a piece of paper and it doesn't tell anything about you, about your experience or about your ability to decide things and find practical solutions. And we always like to say an expert is someone who has the expertise and not the history of being an employee for a long term. So experts are the ones who have the knowledge and not who have the long resumes or CVs. And the last aspect is the most important one when dealing with such heterogeneous teams. When you have the developer and the project manager and maybe someone from C-level inside your team, you are equally on par. There's no hierarchy because someone might have any kind of piece of insight that the rest of the team doesn't have, and there's no sense in overvoting him and don't letting him decide the things he knows best about.
Yeah, the next one is also a personal favorite of mine. It's to support change and let go of the reins. If one of your employees in your team or in your company wants to develop personally or professionally, this should be supported and not oppressed, because most of the time if it's an internal or intrinsic motivation, it's a good one and you should push it if it relates to your work in like some scope. The team and the company itself actually benefit from further training of the employee in any kind of way, and you shouldn't just put a stop on it unless it's like completely useless to the company. If you're a developer and you want to, I don't know, be trained in pottery, that's a different thing, but like a couple of examples, that's actually something that happened to me. I wanted to have an IDE, or I wanted to get a PHP Storm license because I wanted to do stuff by myself instead of writing a ticket, giving it to him, and waiting like an hour for him to develop a button or something. So project managers do not have an IDE, or
classical case, a customer is calling, oh, could you change some language labels, quick task. And previously we used to give this to developers who changed the language labels, committed that and wrote that out.
And I had to write a ticket first and write down what had to be changed, and in the time while writing the ticket I could have just done it by myself.
And suddenly the mini piece of job explodes in terms of
including three people from 3 departments. Or something like if you're a developer and you want to take a leadership seminar, you have to do it by yourself and do it on your free time, because sometimes like developers could profit from a little bit of more like social skills, so it might be a good idea. Or yeah, as I said, something like we've always done it that way, that's just Sometimes you have to just support change and be open to it. Whoops. Yeah, or a classic saying is like, I would have loved to take the training, but my boss said no. Just a no is also a bad explanation. Just if you say no, let him know why. Oh, that's a cool animation that didn't work.
The project management skills. Yeah, let's talk about phone chains and short ways, which I fairly love in practice. One problem that arises in practice is something like, yeah, I'm not doing that specific task now because I'm not sure if that has already been offered yet. So maybe I develop something which isn't covered by any offering or contract with customer. And maybe another question might be, yeah, I'm not sure if it should do this. I just have to ask someone first. I'm not sure about that. Maybe that's not part of my previous job, or I'm not familiar with that part of the application. I have to ask first. Or also classic, yeah, I have to get approval first. Maybe I have an idea, but I just have to run to my project manager and have to get approval before being able to start the work. So in practice, this looks like something like that. You have a whole army of staff behind and one sorry person in the middle who does the work and has that complete company behind him and kicking his ass.
And watching what he does.
Watching what he does, maybe having a grasp understanding of his work, but standing around most of the time, obviously, and that doesn't make sense, and it doesn't is nothing you can enjoy, and
it's inefficient.
Even it's inefficient, all right. But most likely the people around don't enjoy that, I'm sure. So the reason being, let's bring together the right people for the job, and not people because of their titles or roles inside a company. And maybe if you have long chains of responsibilities, someone has to ask the neighbor, and then he has to get approval from someone else, and then another department comes into play, and maybe he has to get CEO approval first. I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. Those long change of responsibilities with the piece of paper wandering between desks and just having to get signed in order to be able to start the actual project, that doesn't make sense and is nothing that can be enjoyed.
Yeah, and you just lose a lot of momentum. If there's an idea coming up that's good and it's being laid away for like 2 weeks, you've just lost the right track and the right point in time.
So if you have a good idea, then do it. Do it. There's no better moment than now. Because maybe if 2 months run first, then the idea might be old, or someone else might be faster, and then it's gone. You don't get a second chance for that.
Yeah, we're almost done. So tip number 10 is all bear responsibility, aka one for all and all for one. I think we've all been there, and we've all seen something like this, like the group is made out of 4 people, and like one does the job and the other ones are either like bossing around or just show up at the end. The result, so the project, the website, the eShop, whatever, is a result of the entire team. So everyone gets to be responsible for it, but also takes a part of the cake at the end. There should be no apportioning of blame. So if someone fucks up, the whole team takes it. You're not going to point fingers and say it's his fault. He'll do it. Not my problem. And then you should work towards like solution-oriented work. So if someone fucks up, you'll get together as a team and look for a solution all together. Nevertheless, of course, there are individual achievements and contributions to the overall project, and that should be rewarded as well. But still, it's not like one takes the cake and the other ones just who did the work don't get anything out of it. Basically within the team, it should be known who has made which contribution, but not because of blaming or because of like raises or salary or whatever. Just to make everyone feel responsible for what they've created. We sadly don't have that one in English, so I'll translate it really quickly. Basically, every team member bears responsibility. So in German, that's something like great, someone else will do it. That's an abbreviation for team. The stronger ones in the team will pull the weaker ones, and the weaker ones can learn from the stronger ones. And working together for project success and not against each other for intrigue or for titles or for status or for something like that. If someone has a good abbreviation for that in English, I'll gladly take it because we couldn't come up with one. And lastly,
yeah, our last tip is about change and flexibility, because as we all know, change is hard. We are humans, and humans actually don't like change. We want to
be in our
stay,
comfort bubble.
be in our comfort bubble, keep stay on our track, and most likely we want to keep our life as it is if we don't see any problem. But the problem is that we then might overlook the actual problems behind. So change is hard, but we got this, and the team can and should change. Change is part of the job. This is something you have to learn in practice. It's nothing you can be told in university or at school or somewhere. Change is important, and change will happen because maybe you have new requirements, new topics that arise that you have to deal with, that you didn't know anything about before, and you have to deal with them because you otherwise you would lose maybe your market position, or the company will will degrowth or something. So change and requirements are important. Another aspect is, even if change is a thing, you aren't alone. You have a team around you, and even your team is part of your company, so there's a team behind, and maybe more than 2 or 3 teams which can exchange with each other and learn from someone else, and this is important. So you don't want to run into a situation where you have, say, 3 teams inside your company and they don't talk to each other, because if you had this, you almost have like some
3 different companies.
3 different companies, 3 mini companies inside the actual company, and if they don't talk to each other, we are in that silo thinking again.
But this time team-based.
But this time team-based silo thinking, so that didn't make any sense. And that's why team exchange and some format to enable that is quite important. So even teams who have people who are able to quickly adapt to new situations, so-called all-rounders, so to say, you know, these are the people who know almost everything, but most likely almost a grasp understanding, and if it gets into the details, they are the ones who run into problems first. So actually they're the best part of cross-functional teams because they are the most cross-functional at all. But even they can run into problems, and then you have to get the specialists, and maybe the specialists sit in some other team, and you have to talk to them in order to get them available and are able to offload parts of work to them in order to profit from their capabilities.
Yeah, at the end, first of all, thanks for your attention, and we would actually love to get some feedback on how you guys are maybe structuring your company. What do you think of the tips? What do you think of our current way of working? Do you see any improvements, any problems? Or was it perfect and everyone wants to adopt this? That's also fine for me. Probably not.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Because I can imagine that the process was very hard because it's a complete mind change
Yeah.
that needs to be happen. How was the team challenging this? So was the team stuck together from the very beginning, or so you made a trip to that really good-looking hotel? And I think there was the team members all included, and are all the same people still in there, or was there a little bit of change because some people saying, wow, that's way too hard for me, or that's not working for me? Or?
Yeah, fun that you say it because I was actually the one who was unhappy with the change. because basically we wrote down all of our customers and then all of the employees, and we tried to make the teams out of that. And for me, that meant I had to give up one of two of my favorite customers. So I was the only one who had to give up a customer, and I was really unhappy with that. And it just took time. Like, I had to accept the fact that change is good, hence why we said it. It's not easy. Mostly, it worked out pretty well. And yeah, it's not the end of all projects we've done there. Like, it's a good start for now, and it's a lot better than having one big team and trying to differentiate work in between 20 people. But it's okay. No one left the company, and everyone kind of accepted what's happening. Boris?
You described in one slide, I would say, the ideal situation that the customer simply acknowledges everything if somebody has a brilliant idea. How do you deal with that? That maybe the customer, in the end, says, well, that's a great idea, but I didn't have the money to pay.
We actually try to accommodate their budget needs. Like, most of the time we just had the case that we had a really good idea which the customer would actually really benefit from, but the customer told us right away that he doesn't have the budget for that and he doesn't want to do it. But like, there were some security issues, and we tried to argue that way. Like, we didn't press, but we tried to bring out the benefits for that, and that didn't work. And we actually tried to accommodate their needs and try to come up with something like a payment plan. So instead of having this huge project budget they need to spend at one time, we offered you could do like a monthly payment, or we could work it into the support budget we have on a monthly basis anyways. But sometimes we just have to accept that customer, even if the idea is entirely brilliant, we have to accept the fact that the customer is still the one who holds the lever.
So I guess it was good that you moved away from the paper Kanban board for the pandemic. Was that accidentally good timing?
That was accidentally excellent timing. Because
Actually,
I wonder what who made the decision to move towards this? Was
Corona.
it the majority of the people, or what did it come down from above? Like, so that's the before, and then my other question is, I suppose, how would you feel about moving to like even further down the road where each team is responsible for its own sales and revenue, and you're just a...
Oh, we're actually at that point. We just had a training on how to make sure that your projects are all...
And how far are you away from being a holacracy with like...
not quite there, but almost.
Interesting.
And like,
what was the emotional situation to get you to go over the cliff?
actually, the entire digitalization of that sticky note board was Corona, because we were all stuck at home from one day to the other, and no one knew which tasks were currently open because they were all stuck to a wall, and we had someone running around photographing the board. That's why
That was a thing.
I think we had 2 people staying at the company for one entire day, and they were just digitalizing it into GitLab issues, and we had like a GitLab Kanban board, but that just didn't work out, as obviously because Git is not an issue tracker per se. And we were all really unhappy with the way of work, even after having the digital board, because it just didn't work. Like, you can't say you're an agile company and you're trying to give everyone the possibility to explore the horizons and try new stuff, and then plan, on the other hand, like plan their entire week based around tickets. So it was a lot of frustration and a lot of tears, which brought us to actually booking that trip, and that was a pretty good decision, looking at it now. I think you also had a question?
Yeah, you mentioned you split up the teams by customer, also by technology or something?
Slightly. We try to split it up by topics. So we have one team who mainly focuses on shopware development, one team who mainly has like big extranets based on Typo 3 with a lot of like tweaks and extensions. And then we have one team who does content portals mainly, so their focus is more on like SEO, SEA, and stuff like that.
Now you make sure that they still talk to each other in the teams. Do you have some monthly showing off what the other team is doing or something like that?
Yeah, actually, currently weekly. We have a weekly discussion with the whole company. Previously, we used to do this daily, but we quickly encountered that this is pretty much too much time spent in order to for too few gain out of that, and that's why we decided to change the frequency into a weekly one. And this is totally enough. The teams themselves meet on a weekly basis, and the whole company as well meets on a weekly basis, and this is totally enough.
And also something we've came up with in our trip to Berlin, we do, like, I think it's quarterly bar camps, like internal bar camps where we're actually talking about like bigger things that are happening in tech right now, how we could adapt this to our customers as a whole, even if it's not team-based. And that was also a really good idea. And we also had something like a cleanup Friday, which we did for the first time, I think in December, where we just all went to the board and cleaned up all of the small tickets that have been just left there because no one wanted to do them. That was also a nice development. Yep. Anyone else?
Nothing?
Okay. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luisa and Christian.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
That's too kind.
Not bad. Oh my.
Fight for yourself. This is beer, this is wine. I don't know who's the beer drinker or the wine drinker.
Yeah, both of us. I'll
Just
take the wine.
that one and you
Thank
take
you.
that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, cool.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Deubel. I'm from GitLab. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a different topic than usual. We're going to talk about how to attract the right people to your company. We had COVID in the past. That changed a lot of things that happened throughout your companies, throughout the teams that you want to work with, that you have worked with. So we're trying to tell you a little bit about, okay, so what do you actually need to be attractive for new employees? How do you retain them? And how can you work with them? So why am I doing this talk? I'm part of the talent acquisition team at GitLab, but I'm also a former engineer. I come from the field. I've done engineering for about 20 years before I became a recruiter. So I bring a little bit of a different perspective towards GitLab. Previously, I worked at Elastic, another fully remote company. So there are some benefits that remote has over non-remote. I'm going to explain them a little bit as well. So once we start, there's only one thing that I always tell people. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about your audience. So when we talk about attracting people, we're not talking about candidates. We're not talking about prospects. We're talking about your audience. It tells a little bit of a different story. When you talk about audience, it's about, let's say, a music artist. They have the music, they have the show, and they have the media hype. When you talk about you and about them and you want to attract people, you have to do the same approach. You have to talk about your product, your company. You have to talk about what you offer people, and then you have to create a little bit of a hype. Why should people join you? And of course, why should people stay with you? That's the second part of it. Attracting is one, having them stay is the second one. So we're going to talk a little bit about freedom, flexibility. We're going to talk about belonging, company values. We're going to be talking about diversity and inclusiveness. Tough topic. I'm not going to bore you to death with it, but we're going to touch on it. We're going to talk about ownership. We're going to talk about growth support. Growth is the most important thing you can have in a company. If you don't provide people with growth options, they will leave. It's very simple. If you don't offer them growth, somebody else will. We're going to talk about your recruitment process. Now, I know that not all companies over here or not all people over here have huge teams, have a TA team that they can use, but still, this is going to be applicable for you. We're going to talk about compensation, the tough one, especially in the Dutch market, and we're going to talk about job security. Now, a little bit for me, who here is a manager or an owner or a leader in that team? That's a small group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wing it a little bit, talk about both the management side, but also as a job seeker or an employee, what you should look at, for in another company. Now, a note, I'm not here to recruit. I'm just here to talk about my story. This is not an active recruitment talk, absolutely not. Of course, I'm open to it, but that's another story. I'm going to do this by hand, so that's going to be fun. We're going to cheat a little bit. Now, who works remote? Who works from home? Small team, how do you like it? Okay-ish?
Yes.
Yeah? Why okay-ish? Why not great?
More comfortable.
Yeah?
Do chores if you have to more easily, and you don't have the need to take a ride, especially if it's a long way to go.
Indeed. And did you know that it's more than just that ride? It's more than just that flexibility of not going to the office?
That was more than obvious.
Definitely. So once we look at why remote is so popular right now, it's all thanks to COVID. Before it was a struggle to go remote. COVID pushed us a little bit. And people know it now. People know what remote is like. So they tend to not either want to go to an office or they miss the office. It's two camps, so we're going to talk about all of them. Now, if you look at flexibility, remote is not just working from home. Remote is working from anywhere, working from wherever you want, maybe during a travel. It's also about flexibility. You don't have to start at 8 a.m. So in my example, I start at 7 a.m. in the morning, I work till 12, and I have 6 hours break. I don't do anything for 6 hours, then I start working again. Why? I've got a small family, my wife sleeps early, so I work at night. It's easy, I can spend my day with them. My company doesn't care. As long as I do my work, as long as I have my output there, it's fine. So as an employer and as a team lead, you can actually make a decision. Do I want to go 9 to 5? Which is scientifically not the best way to go, because people have an attention span of 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, then it drops. then you need to regain energy again, then you go onwards again for the next few hours. So even in office, but especially remote, that freedom, that working whenever you want, actually helps. Once you look at working like I do or working like somebody else does, I have a colleague that works Monday to Thursday. Friday they go skiing, Saturday they work again. It's not just the freedom, it's the mindset that you give them. You can work whenever you are at your best, not whenever you are tired or whenever you are stuck. Imagine coding and you're suddenly in the middle of a problem, you're stuck. What do? Keep on coding, keep on trying, talk to colleagues, go out for a walk and come back in an hour. Within that hour, you probably solved your issue and you can go on again. So it has some benefits. The async part is something that, if you're not in an international company, still works. Don't force people to work at the same time. Now, async has a perk and a big con. The perk is you can work whenever you want, everything is documented, everything is on paper. The downside is you have to wait for a response. You have to wait for somebody, maybe for 4 hours, maybe for 6 hours. However, as soon as you create an opportunity within your company where people all are working async and all have the same expectations, you actually work faster. Because by creating a documentation first, documentation heavy environment, people don't have to look for everything anymore. People will find what they need without constantly having to call their manager, ask their colleagues or anything else. But it brings us to the next point. You have to do documentation first. And even if you're not remote, I encourage you to do documentation first. It saves you so much time. It makes you so much more efficient to make sure that once you have the documentation, everybody can find it. Now, we're cheating. GitLab has an open handbook. Everybody can read it. It's used throughout the world by other companies as a almost leeway to find out how can I do remote in my organization. You can look it up online and just figure out how that fits in your organization. It's very simple. By creating that documentation, and it's one centralized point, you can actually make it easier for you to work remote. So remote is, for most people, the way to go. But there are still people that want to go to an office. Now, we have an option there, hybrid. If remote is not a full option, or if you don't want to do it, you can go hybrid. But this is the toughest part of choosing. You can go all in, all out, and hybrid is, it's hard to maintain. And the reason why is you have to be full remote in all your settings. So you have to be full remote in your meetings, your documentation first, all those kind of things, because you need to treat everybody equal. So if you want to treat everybody equal, you have to pick one side. You can't pick in-house, you can't pick the office because nobody's there. So you have to go to default. My communication is as if everybody's remote. So that means meetings, everybody on their own laptop, not sitting together. That means documentation first, making sure that everything is central place. That means that you are basically allowing people to not be at a meeting and record it. If you go for the hybrid option, you have to take the mindset of going fully remote. You allow people to go to the office, they can meet up, but still they're going to be remote. People are looking for this. People that miss the office, even if it's once a week, they want to go for that option. Now, most companies are playing with this by making their offices a gathering place. People just can go and meet each other. No strict offices, no dedicated space. Just, here you go, have fun, meet each other. And it becomes a little bit more of a less efficient workday because people are just chatting with each other. But that's what they miss. And if they miss it, give it to them. So a lot of people are still looking for this. Now, again, it's output versus input. So treat it as remote. Don't force people to work 8 hours straight. Don't force people to take leave when they need to go to a doctor or something like that. If you're flexible, people will repay that. If you look at the output versus the input, we're looking at not you making 8 hours a day, but you creating something. And I don't care if it's 8 or 6 hours, as long as you created something. And that's the whole point. Especially in remote and hybrid, it's easy measurable because you actually make everything in documentation. Once you go in office, there's a lot of chatter. It's really hard to figure out who does what. So the beautiful thing about this is you have high retention rates when you go outside of the office or hybrid. People would like to work there. If you go in office, if I look at this, I really can't go back to the office. But there's a lot of distraction in the office. Some people love it. Some people really get that energy. Think about sales teams. Don't put the salesperson on their own, right? They need that competition. But a lot of engineers are like, oh, no, this is my world. Please stay out of it. So you have to figure for yourself, does this work for me as a company, or do you want everybody inside? Now, for agencies, I can imagine that you want your people on the spot, because that's the typical setting. But give it a try. Give it a try for 2-3 months. Let them go remote. You will see that your teams are actually more effective and are actually more collaborative, because you force them. Now, not a lot of people know this, and this is a small pitch for GitLab, but not a lot of people know this. GitLab is used for your repositories, right? But we actually use it for everyone. So even I in talent acquisition, but even our sales teams, everyone is in GitLab. And it doesn't matter to me if you use GitLab, GitHub, or any other tool to collaborate, but creating that actually solves the whole issue that you get over there, the distraction. And it solves the elbow work, right? Somebody that's nearer to the boss, the bias of being close to somebody is actually eliminated by making sure that everybody contributes in one single tool. The positive side is, if you do your work right, and you show that you do your work within that tool, without having to prove yourself all the times, people actually see it and you can get promoted. The downside is if you're a slacker, people will notice as well. So it has its perks for management, for leaders, to actually see, hey, what's my workforce doing? And where are we going stuck? It's still good. There's nothing wrong with in-office. But if it's up to me, I would make it remote in office. Let people work as if they're remote with the comfortableness of an office, if you like that. That's the thing. The downside is harder to attract people. If you are a team leader or a manager or an owner hiring people, you're going to struggle with this, because your talent pool went from this to this. People just don't want to go to an office anymore, except for that little few. It's 1 out of 10, research says. I think it's 1 out of 12, but who cares? Another thing in office is, and this is killing most companies and most people, is overtime. When you work remote, when you work hybrid, there's hardly any overtime, because you're forced to work on the output versus the input. Over here is input. People want to see you busy. You have to stare at your screen. Your manager is walking past you. Your leaders are walking past you. Your colleagues are looking over your shoulder. So you're constantly busy. But are you busy? Or are you trying to find ways to stay busy? And are you effective? Or are you constantly searching or walking somewhere else asking, hey, how can I do this? How should I do this? What should be documented? The downside is people don't like this part because it's terrible for growth. I'm going to be very honest with you. It's hard to learn and train in a setting like this. So you're forcing people to learn at home. So the battle is a little bit bigger. Overtime is a killer over here because people want to show what they're doing. Now I have a little example. My first recruitment company, it was normal to stay till 7 o'clock. The only problem was, after 4 o'clock, everybody pulled a beer out of the cooler, got a glass of wine, and nothing was happening. But they were there, looking at the screens because the boss was in the corner. Is it effective? No. The company's paying for it because you're doing overtime. You're paying for it because it's your energy, your time, and the product is paying for it because nothing's happening. So, if you go to an office, let people decide when they leave. Give them ownership. We're going to talk a little bit about ownership, but as soon as you give them ownership, they won't do overtime anymore. So, the next part is going to be the gooey stuff. We're going to talk about feelings. Feelings are important. Very simple. If you want to have a job, or if you are working somewhere, or you want to have a good team, You have to think about people's feeling. How do they feel about doing overtime? How do they feel about remote? How do they feel about your actual company? Do you feel at home at your company? I'm not going to ask everybody here because maybe your boss is here, but do you actually feel that you belong where you are? Right? A lot of people don't. And it's a shame because it's your work. It's half of your life you're spending on work. And if you don't feel that you belong, there's an issue. So, feelings. Get used to it. And it's not working. Here we go. We're going to start with belonging. I gave this as an example before. I took GitLab, the old logos, but still. When you talk about belonging, you're actually talking about the values, the company values. Now, I'm going to give you one hint. It's not the writing on the wall. It's not where every company says, we care about diversity. Because everybody says that, but nobody shows it. So when you talk about the values, there are ways to actually get to that point. What is the point that you want to go to? That one, belonging. I want to work here. You want your employees to think, I want to work here. You want to make sure that they know what they're doing. What are you building? Does your team actually know what you're building? Do they know the end product? Or are you just siloed in a little piece and have no clue what's happening? How much do you share with them? Feeling a part of the company, tough one. We're going to talk a little bit about diversity later on, but this is actually the part where people drop out. People honestly hardly ever feel part of the company. That has to do with diversity, it has to deal with ownership, it has to do with the perks, your belongings, the money that you make, your growth. Everything ties back to I feel part of the company. And that's where you get to your values matter. Now, one of the managers that wants to give an example. Do you have values? Does anyone want to share your company values? Or do we have values at all? It's silence, right? So a lot of companies don't have values, and a lot of people can't talk about them because they actually don't know how their values tie into the company. And we're talking about, we're giving you a work-life balance. We care about diversity. Sure. And we want you to grow. How? A lot of companies cannot share your values. Now, the most important thing for you as a company to do is get your values. And how do you get them? By talking to each and every one of your employees. Ask them, how do you want to be led? How do you want to be managed? What do you expect from us? What do you expect from your job? What do you expect from life? What are your goals? Talk to them about them. Make it about them, not you. Get all that information, distill it, and create your values. This is how GitLab got to their values. We have 6 core values and a lot of small ones. But it's collaboration, result, efficiency, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, iteration, and transparency. Now, no matter who you ask in GitLab, if you ask them about the credit, that's the acronym for all those values, way easier. Everybody will have their own story, but they will have a story. You will not talk to somebody that cannot explain what one of the values is. An easy one, collaboration, is we use GitLab for everything. So it makes it so easy to collaborate because everybody can see what you're working on. And the beautiful thing is that if everybody can see what you're working on, you can only get better. Because somebody in some corner will say, I saw that before. Maybe we should try A instead of B. And somebody in the corner will say, I don't agree. This is actually not effective. People will be able to talk about results, the output versus the input, right? Focus on the output. How do we do that? Again, that collaboration tool. Doesn't matter if it's GitLab. I would say take GitLab, but it really doesn't matter as long as you have a tool where you can actually get people to collaborate in. Efficiency. Working from home, working in the office, doesn't matter as long as you give people the freedom to work and stop when they are blocked. It's not about the ooey gooey thing like, I can design my own life. Yeah, that's beautiful, but you still have a work to do, right? But if you give people the freedom to say, I'm stuck, I'm going for a walk, and that's not what a lot of employers are doing, you actually create efficiency because people will clean up their mind, have a little bit of energy back, and can go onwards. So values matter, they really matter, but you have to live them. You cannot just share them with the company, say, this is our aspiration, this is where we want to go to. You have to live them. And if you're not there yet, slowly introduce them one by one. This also gives people a little bit of a good feeling about, this is what I'm contributing to. I'm actually part of something. So belongings, it's a start, but it's important. Then diversity. I'm not going to go really deep in how you attract diverse people on the macro level. I'm going to keep it a little bit bigger. I'm going to cheat a little bit because I have some research stuff there that I can't memorize. It's that simple. But it's all about acting like an inclusive company. Acting as a diverse company. Not saying you're diverse. And what's diversity? It's all you. It's not about skin color. It's not about being a man or a female. It's not about your ethnicity. It's about being you. And that's what a lot of people forget. It's not about those numbers that we have to have 36% of the company being female. It's about what they add to the company. What kind of value do they add? It's proven that, and I need to cheat a little bit, but they did, in Spain, they did a research. 2,470 companies, they checked them, all of them. And they asked them, okay, how effective are your teams? And they all said 87% of the companies that had a diverse team was more effective. They were faster, quicker to iterate, and they brought more changing products to the market. Why? Because everybody thinks differently. And if you hire mini-me's, as I like to call it, nothing's going to change. People are going to basically agree with everything you say. They have the same mindset. If you get people from the same schools, with the same background, everything is going to stay the same. But now, hire an outlier. Hire somebody different. It's the way that I was hired. I was an engineer. I had nothing to do with TA. Apparently, I talk a lot, so they said, okay, join us. And I gave it a try. But my diversity, although I'm a white 40-year-old male, my diversity adds something to my team. So every person adds some diversity, but you kind of want to attract it as well, right? Especially as an employee, especially as a team lead. You want to have a more diverse team, so how do you do that? Well, live it. It's that simple. It's giving the people that you already have the feeling of, I can be my true self. Do you know how many people wear a mask at work that actually do not show who they actually are because they have to adjust? That was a good example. I went to a US-based company. That's fun, I'm Dutch. So I'm direct, I'm blunt, and I know everything better. And then the US company says, you need to sandwich everything. So you start with, you're great, and then a little bit of feedback, and you're great again. I couldn't do that one. But the next company, GitLab, actually said, you know what? That's okay. We don't have long toes. We have short toes. You can step on them. It's fine. As long as you respect the other person, as long as you don't insult people, and as long as you're not discriminating. Now I can be my true self. Way more liberating, way more fun. Not everybody thinks the same, but overall it's way more fun. And I feel respected. Now, when do you lose your job? When do you leave your job, better said? It's when you don't feel respected. When you feel that you're constantly acting differently, or you feel like my manager doesn't get me. And it's not about your manager not getting you. It's not about you not getting your employees. It's about the respect. It's mutual. You have to earn it. But you can only earn it if you're honest and be yourself. And you can only be yourself if your company allows you to be yourself. Then they care about people. We're going to talk a little bit about the layoffs later on, because that has a huge impact on this one. But if a company shows that they care, if you as a manager show that you actually care about people, so not just the average that they did. Hey, how's your life? How's your wife? And not, how are you doing? The Dutch or German way, right? How are you doing? Bye. No, actually ask them, how is your life? Have you been studying? How's the kid? Did they go to the dentist? Anything like that. Show that you care. People will actually notice this, and they will stay longer, because the more you care, the more they care. It's the energy that you give, you will receive. It's that simple. And then, like I said, practice, don't preach. Diversity is a hard one. Gaining diversity is a hard one. You have to find it. You have to look for it. But if you don't practice it, people won't join. So you will never get to that part. So you start with the team that you have and slowly build it up. When you source people from a diverse background and you're not sure how your team can handle it, train them. Don't be too stubborn to say, we can handle this. No, train them. When I hired my first, how do they call it, neurodiverse candidate, I had a challenge. They were autistic, and not just a little bit. But they could do the job. They had all the traits that we were looking for, but how do you hire them? So we actually went outside for training. My managers got training. The team got training. Just to make sure that that person could be their true self, felt respected. Those small efforts can help you become an actual diversity employer. Can actually help you with creating a diverse team. And the beautiful thing is, 87%, I can just repeat that number, 87% more effort, more increase of the output. 87% in, hey, we built something new that we never thought about. Efficiency, new products, everything. Just from a little bit of diversity. And it doesn't have to cost a lot, honestly. You don't have to hire those expensive agencies that say, we're hiring for diversity. They're just looking for numbers, that's it. You want people. Then ownership. If you work somewhere, you want to be able to say, I lead my work, I lead my day. I am part of this company. I feel proud of the result that I was part of. Our values count because I own this. I am part of this company. I own these values as well. And I add value. Now, especially at the last one, I add value. And the first one, I lead my work, are definite signs of ownership. Ownership is trust. It's not giving somebody a project. It's about trust. If you as an employer, but also as an employee, can actually pick a project, say I'm going to collaborate with people on it, and you lead it, you're going to give people, I don't want to say power, but a responsibility. And the responsibility helps in growth, that's one. It helps with, hey, I feel valued because I'm leading something. It will teach them something, and they will have to share their knowledge with other people because they're leading something. And if you lead something, then the people that work with you, you have to share your knowledge. So there are a lot of benefits of creating ownership. But the biggest one is people feel proud at the end. If I have a project that I'm leading, everybody can contribute, but I'm still leading. I'm learning every second that I own a project. And as soon as I deliver the project, it's teamwork. It's not just me. It's teamwork. But as an employer, they see this. It's teamwork. Suddenly they have a team doing something instead of an individual. And that person loves it because they owned it. They did it. They achieved something. Instead of I did my work, I achieved something. That's a huge mindset. And that's something you need to create as an employer, especially if you're talking about retention, because this is harder to show when you hire somebody. But it's very important if people are leaving, because this is a big reason. People miss the ownership. And it's such a simple thing to implement. I'm going completely off script, by the way, but we'll get used to it. And that ownership ties into growth as well. How many people of you have a budget for learning? How many people of you have time for learning? Yeah, right? It's an issue. And the weird thing is that if you actually look at how much time learning costs, and the actual productivity and the end result that you get from it, it's well spent time. So a given rule in the US is 20%, and trust me, not all companies do it, but 20% learning and 80% work. That 20% is not just learning. The 20% is giving you a break from the mundane day life, right? What are you doing constantly? It's always the same. You're just doing your job. 20% learning. It's quite an investment, but it will pay itself back because those people will grow. They will stay because if you can't allow them to learn, somebody else will. It's that simple. If I'm in a job and I can't excel and I can't learn, I'm at the same level the rest of my life. Because if I can't learn, I can't grow. If I can't grow, I can't excel. If I can't excel, why am I here? Somebody else will offer me that job. Somebody else will offer me, I don't know, 5K, 10K budget a year. Is that a lot? Yes. Your retention stays high. Do you know how expensive it is to hire somebody new? And do you know how cheap it is to give them a little bit of budget? And how can you do it? Events like this. Books, courses, trainings, fly them out once a year. Even if it's just once a year. Go to KubeCon. Go to, I don't know, well, I like Vue, but okay. Let's go for anything else. Go to a Vue conference. Join somewhere and let them go somewhere where they can learn, where they can actually feel like, hey, somebody's investing in me. So that's a huge important thing. What is the result? They feel like they can learn. They feel engaged. They have options. Because if you can't learn, you can't grow. If you can't grow, you can't get promoted. And my employer cares. That's the important one, retention. My employer cares. My employer wants me to succeed instead of my employer wants me to work. It's all about that exceeding part. If you want to hire people, show them that they can exceed. If you want to retain people, show them that you care, because they can exceed. This is my piece. I could talk about hours on this one, but it's very simple. I see a lot of young people. If you apply at a company, it's very simple. If you get a terrible first impression of the recruiter, you're out. If you see a terrible job description, you're out. If you see terrible perks or you see a company values that you don't like, you're out. You don't want to apply at that company. This is your start. This is your business card. Not just the recruiter, but you as a manager if you don't have recruiters, right? You're the first business card. Your impression lasts a lifetime. This is why people come back to recruiters and not to companies. But this is also why people hate recruiters. And I was one of them. I hate recruiters because 80% of recruiters have no clue what they're doing. So make sure that the process is done well. Make sure that your recruiters or your hiring manager, everybody, your interviewers are aligned on the process, that they know what they're doing. But also that they're transparent, that they actually tell you what life is. If you have a recruitment team or a management team, or even just single interviewers working for you, tell them to be honest. Tell them to be open. Tell them to be fair with people. Because if I ask a company, what's your challenge? And they say, well, we don't really have challenges, I'm gone. I don't trust that. If I ask an interviewer, what are your challenges and what don't you like about the company, and they don't have an example, they're lying. Everybody has something that they don't like about the company. And an interviewer should be safe to tell you. It's that simple. So allow them to do so. If your process is good and smooth and they're not letting you wait for months and months on a result, people are going to be able to figure out, hey, this is a good company, because if your recruitment process is in order, the rest might be in order as well. If that lacks, if that's slow, the rest of the company might be slow. It's that first impression, right? So it's incredibly important to make sure that this is well-oiled, it's streamlined, it's almost agile. It's very simple. What you do in software engineering, you can do over there. It's the same. Not a lot of people still understand that, but it's technically the same. You pick one thing, you put it through a process, and the result is there. It's a hire, right? Make sure that they feel valued. It's user stories. We just had a talk about user stories. It's the same thing. They're your users, but now they're also your clients. I had all the information I needed to succeed. Web page, your company web page, your company career page. Does it tell a story? Does it show what you have to offer? Most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it talks about perks. Hey, you have 25 vacation days. Yay! It doesn't really work. They want to know about your culture, about the project that you work on. Now, again, we're cheating. We have everything open sourced, but why not? Why not open source what you're working on? You don't have to share details, but at least people know what they're going to do. And the people I met were open and honest, and I know what I'm getting myself into. I took my job at GitLab because I know it was an absolute mess in recruitment. And I mean an absolute mess. They needed a new team because nothing was streamlined. If they hadn't told me, I wouldn't have applied, or I wouldn't have gone through with it. And if I wasn't up for it, I would have left again within my probation period. because it was an absolute mess. I signed up for it. They were honest. That's why I joined. So be honest. If it's an absolute mess in your company, don't say it's an absolute mess. But do tell about the challenges, right? Give them a little bit of a heads up of this is what we need to do. When I talk to front-end engineers, I tell them, you're going to do a lot of refactoring. Good luck. But that's part of the job. Do they like it? Well, if they don't, they have an option. They're not surprised when they joined. Because if they join and they hate refactoring and they don't want to do this for the next half year, they're going to leave again. A hire for us, 30K, 40K that we spend on getting somebody in, that's a loss of money, a loss of effort. So you want to make sure that if you get somebody in, that they know what they're getting into. That's important. And this is the challenge for everybody of you, and I'm not doubting everybody of you. It's the global market that changed. COVID changed it, global market changed it, Google, Amazon, they messed it up. What happened? You've got Dutch salaries, and then the US came in and said, we're going to hire people in Europe. What happened? Salaries went double, twice the amount that you're getting normally. You don't want to work there because you're going to drown and you're going to die and you're going to burn out, basically. But they offer a lot of money. And you as an employer, you cannot beat up to it. You just cannot win it. So you have to do it differently. You're going to talk about compensation and not about salary again. Because salary, you won't win from most companies, right? A Dutch employer cannot afford me at this moment. And a US company can. That's a problem for a lot of people. There's a problem for managers. Because how do you get new people if the US is hunting your people? Compensation, not just the salary. It's a part of the salary. I feel valued for what I do, but it's about benefits. And those benefits, think about healthcare. Standard in the Netherlands, in Germany probably. Think about pensions, quite standard. And now think about home office, if you're remote. Do you provide home office equipment, or do you just give a laptop? Well, the cost of a home office equipment can run up to 5K, 6K easy. You don't have them in the office, so it's not that hard to do, right? You're cutting costs, you're still cutting costs. But even if you have an office to run, that 5, 6K is going to pay itself back because people are going to be more efficient. I've got a monitor that's, well, almost this size. Makes me more efficient. Sounds weird, but because I'm at ease with a monitor like this, and I've got everything that I need, adjusted keyboards for my arms, adjusted mouse, everything, I can be more productive. And the productivity is going to earn itself back in the end. It's a one single investment that you make. So home office is important. Now the office, we get a desk, yay, we get a chair, yay. Who likes their chair? Did you buy it yourself?
I bought it for the whole company.
Okay. You did research on it? You did research on the chairs? Research. What's a good chair?
Yeah.
That helps. Do you know how many companies don't do that? They go for IKEA, or they go for a big brand and just say, this is a good chair, because one person sat in it and said, this is good. If you want to help people, either do the research or give them a budget. $400 for a good chair is more than enough. You don't have to go for Herman Miller. Hold on. You don't have to go for Herman Miller. You have to know where to find them. One of the best brands out there at this moment, and I'm not being paid by them, is Secret Labs. It's a gaming chair. It's a perfect chair for people. It doesn't look great, to be honest. You have to go for the toned down ones. $400, you're done. If you go for Herman Miller, $2,000. Here's your chair. There are cheaper versions. $1,000 is probably what you ended up. Yeah. Still manageable. But you don't have to go over the edge. Let people decide, give them a budget, let them decide on something. Even the screen. Not everybody likes a 27-inch. Some people want smaller, some people want way bigger. Give them a budget, even at the office. It's a small step, it's a small thing. You're going to make people happy. Because you're not only giving them money, you're giving them a little bit of power. I can decide what I buy. I have a little bit of impact of my work. Small things, they work. Then health, gyms, biking schedules, all those kind of things, right? If you go to the office or work at home, you want to have your people fit. You want to have healthy people. So help them a little bit. Give them a gym membership. Let them go to a gym and hopefully they actually go instead of just subscribe. But that's the second thing. But give them the option. Because the money that you spend on keeping them healthy is the money that you save on their sick days. Because the healthier your people are, the better they feel. I went into an office at my first company. I didn't like the company, but the food was amazing. It was healthy. It was fresh every day. We had our own chairs. We could choose our own chairs. They made sure that everything we needed was there. Nobody was sick. Second company I went to, they didn't care. They had more sick leave than any other company that I saw in my life. Because they actually didn't care. The food was terrible. It was snacks all day. And they were like, yeah, everybody likes snacks. Yeah, it's not really healthy. People got sick because they lose their resistance, their natural resistance. So get them to a gym. If you're in the office, give them decent food. It's that simple. Don't put crackers on it, but something decent. Then, of course, the home setup that I mentioned, vacation days. This is a tough one in the Netherlands and Germany, right? Vacation days, 20 days, 25 days. In Germany, a little bit better depending on where you are. I've got unlimited, and I'm not the only one. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. People want unlimited vacation days, but there is a little trick there. You have to ask how many people actually take those days, right? Because most companies say, you've got unlimited days. And how many days do they actually take? None. Except for the standard that you have to do. In the Netherlands, 2 consecutive weeks that you need to take officially. Who does it? Almost nobody. According to the law, you kind of have to. The unlimited part, it helps. Because nobody's misusing it. Because you gave them ownership. And if you give them ownership, they can't misuse it. Because they can't finish their projects. It's a give and take thing. So it's the reason why this comes last. Is because you need to do all the rest before you can actually say you can get unlimited vacation days or you can take more than usual, right? It's the freedom that you give, but there's a catch. They have to finish their work first. And if they don't finish their work, they can't go on leave. So you're kind of bringing a natural pressure there, but a natural pressure. You shouldn't give them too much work so they can't take leave, just normal work, right? It's that 80% work, 20% learning. It's not that overtime part, but then you're actually giving them a chance to celebrate the days that they want. I have a small kid, 6 years. I can spend all her vacations with her. I don't have to adhere to the 20 days that I normally get. Spend all my vacation days with her. Need to go to an event like this? Don't need to take leave. Just put it in the system. Because it's unlimited. You can do this as an employer. It's a little bit harder. This is my guest speaker, ladies and gentlemen. But it's a very important thing that you can try to implement this, and it will cost a lot of money in the beginning, but it will pay it back, because if you give this to people, they will actually work harder for you, and they will actually stay, because this is a perk that nobody gives. So if you have the chance to implement it, do so. I will never leave my company for another company that doesn't give unlimited PTO. Because it changed my life. Not just a little bit. It really changed my life. Think about what it can do for your company. And then job security. Spoke about this a little bit earlier. The layoffs, the rifts. Now, a little side note on the rifts and the layoffs. I'm quite close to the fire. I've experienced the rifts myself as well 2 weeks ago. I survived, happily enough. But a lot of companies out there, they hired. Amazon hired 180,000 people in 2 years, and they had to let go of 10%. That's not a big number, because they overhired. They were so confident that everything would grow. When everything collapsed, they had to fire people. So the markets are still healthy. Despite what a lot of analysts say, the market is still healthy, but a lot of these companies overgrown. They wanted to go faster, they want to go to the moon. And then COVID happened, and then the recession happened, and then the current market happened. But it's still healthy enough. Yes, you will feel impact on a macro level. But if you did your hiring in a healthy way, you should be safe. Now, how does it tie into hiring? You have to show you're a stable company. That's not easy. But you kind of have to show it. Publishing your numbers. Telling people about the projects that you won. Telling about people what you are working on. It shows a healthy thing. Did you know that KPN in the past always had vacancies on their website, even when they were not hiring, just to make sure that they see, that they look like they're hiring, just to make sure that people think that it's a healthy company. A lot of companies do this. A lot of tech companies have roles open, they're not hiring, but it looks healthy. Investors care, people care. So make sure that you look healthy. Don't lie though, don't do that one. Then, retention, bonuses and stock. Now, I can imagine not everybody is working on stock and equity like that, but bonuses work in a different setting. Don't give a bonus as a manager. Let people decide. It's called a discretionary bonus. And the discretionary bonus is given by any employee to any other employee. Of course, there is a commission that looks at it. But if I think that somebody in sales deserves a bonus, I can actually go to a manager in that case that is responsible for bonuses. But it can be your manager. And basically say, this is why I believe that they deserve a bonus. And this is why I tie it to all my values. I tie it to the values so people can actually receive a bonus from somebody that cares. It has no use to suck up at people. You can't suck up at your manager anymore. You actually have to do your work to get a bonus. And you're getting it from your peers that respect you. It's a very small thing, and it's a cheap thing. Most of the companies are using $1,000, that's it. Some of them are using $500. After taxes, I've got nothing left. But the feeling is good. So if you can implement small bonuses to your teams and make them peer-driven, it's going to help you with retention because people feel valued again. Then the growth options and the mentorship, all part of the job security. If you have your growth options, you feel secure because the company is investing in you. If you got mentorship, you feel secure because the company is investing in you. As long as you have the feeling that the company is investing in you, you're going to stay. So as managers, you can actually use this. Mentor your people. Even if you don't have a budget, mentor your people. Let them see that you want them to grow. They will stay for a longer time. And of course, they care, so they will think of solutions. Again, the riffs. There are a few things that happened. One is Google, good example. Colleague of mine went to the office, checked in, door didn't do anything. Checked in again, door didn't do anything. He was fired, didn't know it. So he drove to the office 1.5 hours in the middle of San Francisco traffic, which wasn't fun, and couldn't open the door because he was fired and he didn't know. So, yeah, that's the one you don't want. One is you're actually cheating on your employees that gave you a lot of their time, a lot of their effort. They committed to you, they didn't commit back. The world sees this. Twitter is full of these stories. Facebook is full of these stories. LinkedIn is full of these stories. That's branding people. It's killing your brand. The other one is the package that people get. They get a decent package in a company. If they don't have the funding for it, they don't have the budget for it, they at least help you find another job. They get LinkedIn coaching, they get application coaching, interview coaching, those kind of things. Small things, but if you don't have a budget, at least do that. And there are budget companies that did a freeze. Companies that I was part of, Elastic, they did a freeze and they basically said, you can choose people. We're going to lay off people, we're going to freeze everybody. So nobody gets a promotion, nobody gets a pay increase. But it has to be unanimous. And everybody said, okay, cool, we're going to do this. We're not going to get a pay increase, we're not going to get a bonus, we're not going to get a promotion, but at least everybody's safe. You know what that did for the company? Everybody stayed. The next 3 years, nobody left because they felt safe. So there were options for you to handle when you had to need to lay off. But it's part of the story that if you don't have to lay off, at least say that you care about people and what kind of options do you have. You can actually distribute it to your team and say, hey, listen, if something is happening, we're trying these options first before we go to a layoff. Because everybody's worried at this time. Everybody. There's not a single soul that thinks, I'm safe at my job. Because they know what's happening in the tech industry. So beat it. Make sure that you already communicate, hey, this is how we think about it as a company. Don't say we're not going to fire people. Say, if we need to go there, these are the steps that we're going to take. Your employees will love you for it. Even if they don't agree, at least you showed transparency, you showed honesty. So that's an important thing. And then the right focus. If you give people focus, ownership, but also focus, they will stay with you as well. They will have the retention because they feel safe. It's that simple. I think I went through time a little bit quicker than normal, but who has questions? Yes?
If you like to have your opinion on something, talking about recruiting, how do you feel, or what is your opinion on putting salaries or salary ranges in job descriptions?
So there's two things, my opinion and what's happening. What's happening is countries, especially in the US, are making it a requirement to put your salaries in there. I think it's the best thing you could do. However, there's a problem. If you're not in the range of those bigger companies, it's tough to actually put it in there, right? Because people are going to skip your own salary. On the other side, if you put it on and people are not encouraged by your salary and they're going to skip it, you're not losing anyone because they were only money incentivized, right? They went for the money. So it has its pros and cons. If you share the salary on the website, or at least on your job application form, you will at least know if people come for the money or they come for the company. Now, if you're not in that top range of paying companies, then the solution is make sure that they understand the benefits. So even us, we struggle with this as well because we have Amazon and Google breathing on our necks. And I'm not even talking about Netflix and Apple because nobody can beat them. It's just impossible. So what we do is we share the range, but we share our perks first. We share them how we feel as a company, what we do as a company, how we care, how we do things. All the things that I spoke about, we're sharing that with people on the job advert, on the website, in every communication that we have. Because we know that if Amazon is talking to them, we don't stand a chance on the salary side. So I'm a big believer of posting your salary range, but I'm a bigger believer of making sure that they know what they're getting themselves into. Because then the salary doesn't really matter anymore. And to be fair, it also depends on how you treat people. And I spoke with some people before about this. If you give them ownership, but also, and this is typically Dutch, maybe Germany, I don't know for sure, but we tend to let our people go a little bit wider. We don't narrow them down. So we're not telling them, okay, this is your piece of code, you work on this, and that's it. It's not the A-B side, right? It's just type, here you go, somebody else does the rest. We're a little bit more open. We wear multiple hats in the team often. That helps. Because I can hire people from Google not because of salary, but because of the promise that I can make them. And that's what I say, is you have an impact. You can do something. A typical engineer at Google does not know what their impact is on the product. They only know what they're doing in that little silo. So if you're not able to pay them the big bucks, make sure that they feel that impact that they have. That they know what they're getting themselves into. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Because of time?
Out of time?
No, the next speakers are already there.
Oh, sorry about this one.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Mark, thank you very much.
More than welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. You have some local? Yeah, I think we could have been questions and talks for the next hours, but
I'm here for the next hour, so if everybody wants to have a chat.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not recruiting.
So
just so you know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Cheers.